I never knew a mother's whisper would lead me to a heartbreaking truth about love and sacrifice. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was a stormy afternoon. Rain pounded against the window, matching my racing heart. I felt it in my bones, a sense of dread creeping through me as I stood in my dimly lit kitchen. My mother had always said that secrets hid in darkness, but this felt different. This felt alive. She leaned close, whispering words that twisted my stomach into knots. "There's something you need to know." Her voice trembled, as if she was afraid of what she was about to reveal. I could feel the tension in the air, thick and heavy, weighing down on me. My heart raced. I didn't understand what was about to unfold. I only knew I had to brace myself. My mother was more than just a parent. She was a fortress. Strong, steadfast, battling her demons while keeping us sheltered. Yet, this moment was different. Shadows danced across the walls, and her whisper cut through the silence. Each word was a blade, sharp and unforgiving. The way her eyes darted to the floor, refusing to meet mine, sent chills down my spine. I could taste the fear on my tongue. I imagined it was a bitter pill I would soon have to swallow. Suddenly, there it was, the truth, like a storm cloud gathering strength. I had always believed love was pure, an unbreakable bond, but now that belief was cracking. What if love, in all its splendor, was merely a facade? I gazed at my mother, searching for answers in her face, but all I found was a storm brewing behind her eyes, tears pooling like pearls ready to fall. I felt a lump rise in my throat. "What is it?" I begged, my voice barely a whisper as panic clawed at me. "Please just tell me." But she hesitated, and the silence that followed was deafening. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, and I could almost hear the ticking in the background. Would this be the moment I lost everything I knew? Every secret carved into the walls of my heart? Her hesitation was painfully tangible, weaving a web of chaos around us. Would I still love her when the truth was laid bare? My hands trembled. My thoughts raced, and then she opened her mouth, but the words hung in the air, suspended, fragile like glass. Would they shatter my world? The room felt colder, shadows creeping closer, as if even they were afraid to bear witness. My heart pounded, echoing the uncertainty, a brutal reminder of how everything was about to change. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The storm outside raged on, a mirror of the tempest brewing inside me. I should have known things would never be the same again. As my mother's lips parted, drawing the breath necessary for a confession, my mind spiraled with muddled thoughts. What could be so devastating that it turned this formidable figure into an unwitting sorceress of darkness? "Sweetheart," she started, hesitating as the words felt heavy on her tongue. "There are things I've hidden, things I thought you were too young to understand, or too innocent to bear." She swallowed hard, tears shimmering in her eyes like fragile stars. I wanted to hate her, to demand she take back whatever burden she was about to lay on my shoulders. But my heart tugged painfully at the memory of her sacrifices, the time she stitched my wounds and soothed my fears. I had always believed her to be invincible, and yet here she was, unraveling right before my eyes. "Mom, please." My voice cracked, the weight of the moment pressing down once more. "I can handle it. I need to know." She inhaled deeply, her chest rising and falling as if the air was soaked in burdens too great to carry. "Before you were born, your father and we were faced with choices that would shape our lives, choices that," her voice trembled, "that I've kept from you. choices that have repercussions even now. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. What do you mean? What choices? A rush of wind howled outside, rattling the window, as if nature itself was echoing my inner turmoil. I didn't choose the path that would keep our family whole, she confessed, glancing at me finally, her gaze swimming with regrets. I chose the one that allowed us to stay safe. To be together. Safe from what? The words tumbled from my lips unbidden, a desperate plea for clarity. What did you sacrifice? For a fleeting moment, we were surrounded by silence, the world outside muted under the weight of her secrets. Then she whispered, "Love can be a weapon, my dear. It can destroy and build, all in the same breath. I had to protect you from the truth of our family, from the darkness that surrounds us. My heart sank, the sense of dread amplifying. What darkness? Is it something about Dad? At the mention of my father, her face contorted, anguished. He's not the man you think he is. There are aspects of his past that are intertwined with ours, things that may never allow him to fully come back to us, emotionally. I thought maybe if I shielded you from that reality, you wouldn't have to bear the weight. For the first time, I saw the chinks in her fortress, and it terrified me. Could I really bear the truth about my father? As if on cue, a sudden sound broke through the tension, a gentle tap at the door. Who could that be? My mother's eyes widened, concern flooding her features. Moving instinctively, she rushed towards the door, the momentary reprieve of distraction offering little comfort. I followed closely, but the leap from the emotional abyss we'd just teetered upon was dizzying. She opened the door, revealing a figure half illuminated by the dim streetlights, a haggard man, lined by age and wear. I froze instinctively. He looked familiar, yet unrecognizable. The remnants of my father's youthful features were present, buried beneath the burden of shame and hardship. "Dad?" My voice trembled, puncturing the fragile silence. His eyes, once so full of joy, held a mixture of remorse and desperation. "I've come to explain everything," he rasped, each word seemingly laced with both dread and hope. "I need to come back." The air crackled with tension as my mother's face paled, the impending storm darkening her expression. "What do you mean? How could you just return now?" It felt like all our unraveling secrets collided, a tidal wave of emotions ready to engulf us. I stood there, torn between my parents, on the precipice of revelations that promised to alter our lives forever. The storm outside felt trivial compared to the tempest we faced within, but through all the fear and uncertainty, a flicker of hope ignited within me. Would my father's return offer a chance for healing, for understanding? Or would it plunge us deeper into the shadows? As he took a step forward, reaching out for my mother, I could feel the weight of choices once made seeping into our fragile moment. And as my heart raced once more, I sensed something looming, more truth, more pain, but perhaps a glimpse of redemption. "Get away from her!" I shouted, the impulse a howl of defiance, reverberating through the thickening darkness, signaling that while secrets had been unveiled, this story was far from over. The door swung open fully, revealing my father in all his frailty, as though the weight of years apart had crushed him into a shadow of the man I remembered. The anger that surged inside me felt like flames licking at the edges of my heart, but before I could step forth to confront him, my mother was already standing between us, her body tense with an urgency I had never seen before. "Please," she said, her voice trembling, "don't come any closer." The pained look in her eyes told me she was wrestling with the very notion of his presence. This wasn't just a familial reunion, it was a reckoning. "Marissa, I came to make things right," my father said, each word weighing down the air like a stone. "I've made mistakes, but am ready to tell the truth." "About everything." "What truth?" I spat, feeling the sting of betrayal course through me. "You think this can fix the years you were gone? All the lies?" My mother turned slightly, her focus still on him, but I could see the ripple of uncertainty cross her face. You left without a word. What could you possibly say that would justify abandoning us? He bowed his head, the defeated gesture stirring something within me, a flicker of sympathy buried deep beneath my anger. I didn't have a choice then, he murmured, his voice breaking. But I'd had years to think about what it would mean to come back. I thought I was protecting you. I thought you'd be better off without me. No. You didn't think? The storm raged noisily outside, shaking the windows and mirroring my turmoil. Do you think I would have preferred a life without my father? Do you think it was easier for Mom to explain your absence? The words rushed from my lips, fueled by the ache of losing my childhood dreams of what a family should be. Enough. My mother's voice cut through the chaos like a knife, strong yet quaking with the weight of her emotions. This isn't the time. Not like this. She turned toward me, her expression softening even as her voice remained steady. You have to trust that we will get through this together. Together? I echoed, feeling the anger dissolve just enough to let the heartbreak seep in. How can we be together when everything is falling apart? When the truth is that there's so much we don't understand? There was a deafening silence that followed, and I could almost hear each heavy drop of rain hit the ground outside, as if the earth itself mourned our fractured reality. I caught my father's gaze wandering toward the window, perhaps drawn to the world outside that echoed our family's disarray. You think I didn't want to be there? You have no idea what I fought against, he said quietly, his voice hollow with desperation. I thought if I could just stay away, the darkness wouldn't touch you. I believed I was sparing you. Enough of your excuses. I could feel tears prick at the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. You think you know what's best, but you have no idea what you've really cost us. The years that can't be replaced. Lana, my mother whispered, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder, grounding me amid the whirlwind. Maybe this is the moment we can start to understand each other. The softness of her voice, a stark contrast to the storm outside, pulled at something deep within me. Despite the resentment, there was still a flicker of hope igniting anew. But my father interjected, please, just give me a chance to explain. It's not just about me. It's about what was done to keep our family safe. At that moment, I felt a swell of confusion, a tide pulling me in all directions. Safe? From what? I tackled my emotions head-on, but there was an urgency in his eyes that held me captive. What could possibly be worth all of this? Worth you disappearing? Before he could respond, a distant sound pierced the tension, a soft knock, tentative and uncertain, echoing through the house like a final plea. My heart raced again, knowing that this night refused to let us dwell in one moment for too long. With a nod from my mother, I stepped toward the door, hesitantly opening it, revealing an unexpected visitor, my best friend, Mia, clutching a phone in her hand, worry etched across her face. There you are? I thought something terrible happened. Her eyes flitted between my father and mother, recoiling as the pieces fell into place. What's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost, Mia, I breathed, glancing back at my parents, searching for the words that would encapsulate the storm within. But all I could manage was a whisper of betrayal, carried by a raw pulse of fear. Don't know? The moment hung heavy in the air, secrets swirling like the tempest outside. This wasn't just about my father's reappearance or my mother's hidden truths anymore. A fabric woven with complicated love and sacrifice was now hanging in the balance, and the discovery of its threads promised not only heartbreak, but also a chance for clarity. But before I could collect myself, Mia stepped forward, summoning both courage and compassion in the face of our family's unraveling. Whatever it is, I'm here for you, she said, her presence wrapping around me like a comforting balm. The initial reluctance flickered in my mind, but the sincerity in her voice ignited something I thought was lost. As my gaze shifted back to my parents, a shiver ran down my spine. I felt the weight of unknown truths yet to unfold. But right now, right here, with Mia by my side amid the whirlwind, there was an essential flicker of strength, and the shadows of unresolved secrets began to tangle themselves into a new narrative, one I was desperate to face. And just as I felt a fragile sense of hope begin to unfurl, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket, interrupting the moment. My heart raced as I looked at the screen, reading the name that made it plummet into the depths. Dad can't be trusted. The text was from my brother, and as I stared at it, the unease coiled tight around my chest. What had I stepped into? This was only the beginning, and the storm was far from over. The room felt smaller as I absorbed my brother's message, the words echoing like a haunting melody through my mind. I had expected many things in this moment, but a foreboding text from Jonah was not one of them. My instinct was to call out for him, to drag him into this turmoil, but the weight of my father's presence loomed large, leaving me paralyzed in uncertainty. MIA's hand slipped into mine, squeezing gently, grounding me. A soft reminder that I wasn't alone, yet the knot in my stomach twisted tighter, blurring the edges of my resolve. My gaze darted to my father, whose face was a collage of regret and desperation. Each shaky breath he took echoed with muted apologies, as if he were on the verge of confessing all the pieces of our fractured past that had kept him silent for so long. "Lana, it's important you hear my side of things," he ventured, breaking the taut silence. The rain picked up outside, crashing against the windows like the tumult in my heart. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but you need to know that suddenly, another soft knock echoed through the room, causing the air to thicken. I exchanged a look with Mia, uncertainty pooling in our shared expression. My mother looked at my father, a flash of worry crossing her features. "You'll get it," I murmured, my curiosity piqued and my heart racing. I swung the door open, revealing a neighbor, Mrs. Milner, her face drawn. "Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt," but she faltered, glancing between Mia and me, and finally landing on my parents. "I just heard the storm is getting worse. A tree has fallen on some power lines nearby. They're saying it could take hours to fix. I thought you might want to come over until they get things sorted." The invitation hung in the air, a small gleam of hope amid our escalating storm. I hesitated, glancing back at my family. "It might be safer," Mia whispered, her gaze imploring me to see beyond our chaos. "Thank you, Mrs. Milner," my mother replied, her voice tense yet grateful. "I think we could use a little time away from all of this." Just like that, we were stepping into the unknown, fueled by unease, but also a fragile unity. As we made our way into the night, I felt the weight of the past shift slightly on my shoulders. But just like the storm brewing around us, there awaited hidden turmoil. Mrs. Milner led us into her cozy living room, a warm glow contrasting with the tempestuous world outside. The rhythmic patter of rain against the windows became a backdrop to our unspoken struggles, an insistent reminder of the unresolved truths lurking in the shadows. Settling onto a worn couch, I could feel my heart pounding in intervals, a blend of fear, curiosity, and trepidation. My parents and Mia exchanged glances, and it struck me how temporarily sheltered and utterly exposed we all were at once. "Can you make some tea?" Mrs. Milner suggested gently, moving toward the kitchenette. "It must be quite a night for you all." The request broke the tension, if only slightly. My mother stood, giving her a small smile as she acquiesced, perhaps seeking solace in the comforting act of brewing tea. I sat back, taking a moment to breathe, wanting to piece together my thoughts as my father sat across from me, fidgeting nervously. "What Jonah texted me?" I started hesitantly, staring into my father's eyes, seeking truth amid the chaos. "What does he mean? Why are you not to be trusted?" The question hung heavy in the air, and I could see my father's expression shift, the resolve wavering in his features. A small gulp betrayed his nerves, and in that instant, I could feel the room grow colder. "Lana," but before he could finish, my phone buzzed again, demanding my attention. Against the chill crawling up my spine, I saw Jonah's name flash again, urgently. "Get out of there now. You don't know him like I do." "Please." My heart raced, threads of panic knotting my chest. In the violence of my emotions, I grasped Mia's hand tighter, feeling her warmth through our anchoring connection. "I need to leave," I whispered, my voice barely laced with conviction. "Lana, please," my father said, anguish swirling in his eyes. "Let me explain. There are things no." I stood suddenly, emotions exploding like the storm outside. "I don't know what to believe anymore. You still haven't told me the truth. I need to go." Before I could turn, the front door swung open, revealing Jonah, soaked to the bone in his expression a wild mix of fear and determination. "Lana." The room froze as he stepped inside, heat dissipating into uncertainty. My heart sank as I took in my brother's frantic energy, and dread twisted within me. "Jonah, what are you doing here?" I asked, my voice trembling as I felt trapped between the ghosts of our past and the impending revelation. "You need to listen to me," he urged, shaking his head. "There's something we have to talk about. Something about Dad. It's more dangerous than you realize." Just then, a loud crack of thunder echoed outside, shaking the room. Time seemed to stretch, and the air thickened as my family and Mia's worried gazes settled on Jonah, who stood there defiantly, the storm absorbing the weight of his words. Each breath I took felt like a promise electrified with peril. We were forced to confront not just the past, but the specter of an uncertain future that loomed over us, ready to unravel everything we thought we understood. As the storm raged outside, delineating the edges of safety, the dam of secrets was poised to break, and I could only wonder what dreadful truths would pour through once it did. The moment Jonah stepped through the door, everything I had gathered crumbled into jagged dust. His fear seemed palpable, an anchor in a boiling sea of uncertainty. Behind him, the rain's patter intensified, drumming a frantic tempo against the window, mirroring the chaos inside me. "Lana, please," he urged, his voice raw, as he clutched my arm, pleading for my attention amid the whirlwind of our family's emotional storm. "I don't have much time. You need to understand what this means, what he's done." I felt my father stiffen across the room, his shoulders tense as if Jonah's words ignited tight ropes of rage and fear. The flickering light from the overhead lamp cast erratic shadows, and I noticed Mia's grip on my hand tighten, her warm reassurance a lifeline amidst the crashing waves of tension. "Jonah, you don't know what you're talking about," my father cut in, a tremor of desperation seeping into his voice. "You've always been quick to judge. You don't understand the complexities?" Jonah's voice rose, an urgency laced with betrayal burning in each syllable. "You think it's that simple? You don't know what he's capable of, Lana. What he's done to us as kids, what he's still doing." As he spoke, I felt as if the world around me tilted, the gravity of his accusation pulling my breath from my lungs. "What do you mean? What did he do?" Jonah hesitated, steeling himself as if my question had terrified him further. "There's more to his past than he's ever let on. He's kept secrets, Lana, truths that would shatter your world." The way Jonah's eyes darted to my father, and then back again, filled me with dread. My thoughts raced. Each piece of the puzzle felt slippery and unfixed, yet I could sense the weight of what was lingering over years of silence and unhealed wounds. "Dad," I whispered, fear rippling through me like a sudden cold breeze. "What is he talking about? What secrets?" The silence that followed was like a black hole, expansive and terrifying as my father's face transformed. There, in the hollow of his gaze, I glimpsed regret, pain, and horror. Every second of his hesitation felt like a countdown to confessions I both ached for and feared. "I never wanted you to know," he finally said, his voice trembling, thicker with emotion than the storm raging outside. "I protected you." I thought he faltered, glancing at my mother, who bore a sad expression that intermingled worry and something softer, as if she too held keys to locked doors in our family's past. "But everything you've done has only made it worse," Jonah shouted, desperation spilling over. You don't get to decide what we should and shouldn't know. We deserve the truth. My heart raced, weaving between them, a pivotal piece caught in a tense standoff. As the storm raged on, the atmosphere in the room grew electrically charged, an impending release hovering just above the surface. I can explain, my father pressed, desperation mounting in his voice. Things were different back then. I made choices based on what I thought was right, to protect you both. Protect us from what? I asked, my own voice cracking. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, Mrs. Milner re-entered with a tray bearing steaming mugs and a weary smile. The warmth of the tea was a jarring contrast to the frigid chasm growing between us. I thought you might need these, she said softly, oblivious to the tension that had escalated moments before. The timings felt surreal, like a parallel world where normalcy and chaos collided. I accepted the mug, feeling the heat seep into my hands, reminding me I was alive, but my mind was trembling with questions. Jonah was pacing now, frustration etched on his brow. This isn't just a family altercation, Lana, he pressed. It's about everything. I've found things that can shatter the illusion you've lived in. I refuse to let you remain blind. Blind? I said, feeling the bitter bite of his words sink in. You think I don't feel it too? You think I asked for this pain? I didn't want this either, but I knew you had to hear it, he said, agony mingling with his determination. Maybe it's time for the past to resurface. A beat of silence enveloped us, the hyperventilation of our breaths filling the void. I couldn't tell if I was terrified or relieved that the burden of secrets would finally spill forth. What if it tore us apart instead? In that moment, amidst the surround of warm tea and threatening thunder, I realized how fragile a thread tied us together. Each family secret, every unspoken word was laden with its own heartache and hope, swirling precariously in the room. Then, the lights flickered, and a sudden crash of thunder shook the house more intensely than before. The power surged again and abruptly cut out, plunging us into eerie darkness. I heard Mia gasp beside me, and Jonah called out for us, "Stay close." Dante's high-pitched wail pierced through the tumult outside, echoing ghost-like in this sudden quiet. My heart stopped, for the anguished cry was a sound I recognized all too well. "Lana!" my mother cried, her voice trembling. "Stay with us." But just as I grasped for Mia's hand in Jonah's presence, something stirred behind the shadows, a figure silhouetted just beyond the threshold of chaos. The darkness loomed closer, twisting into something monstrous, and all I knew was that this was just the beginning. The storm outside raged, but another storm had ignited within, one promising to peel back layers of hurt and reveal truths that would shatter our fragile lives, forever altering the path we walked. The darkness felt thick as molasses, wrapping around me like a shroud. My brain scrambled to process the disquieting events that had unfolded, each flicker of the distant lightning illuminating the dread pooling in my gut. I pulled Mia closer, our bodies pressing together for warmth and strength, a small sanctuary amid the encroaching shadows. "Lana. Mia. Are you okay?" Jonah's voice shattered the eerie silence, bringing me back from the brink of my spiraling thoughts. I could hear the tremor in his voice, a thread of anxiety woven tightly into the fabric of his usually steady demeanor. "Yeah, we're here," I called back, my own voice ragged and thin against the vast interior of the darkened room. I felt more vulnerable than ever, our sanctuary now feeling less of a home and more like a haunting, a place filled with whispers of things unspoken. The wail outside had subsided, leaving behind a haunting echo that seemed to wrap itself around my heart. My father's protective assurance had faltered, revealing cracks in the foundation of our family. What was it Jonah had discovered? And what had my father shielded me from all these years? Secrets clung to the air, and I felt them pressing against me, threatening to suffocate. "Can you light a candle?" Mia whispered, her voice barely a thread above the silence. I squeezed her hand, thankful for her steady presence. "I think there's one in the kitchen. "I'll go," Jonah said, his silhouette shifting as he moved away from us, leaving behind an alarming void. "Stay together." The darkness swallowed him whole, and a moment stretched into an eternity, leaving me hyper-aware of every sound, the soft rustle of my fingertips against Mia's palm, and the faint tap of raindrops on the windowpane. I could feel my heart galloping beneath my ribcage, a wild horse caught in a snare of fear and uncertainty. "Mia," I said softly, trying to keep my voice steady, do you think Jonah is right? About what Dad has done?" She inhaled sharply, the silence stretching between us. "I don't know, Lana. But if Jonah's seen something, it must be serious. What if it tears us apart?" I felt the tremor in my voice, the cold whisper of dread inching into my thoughts again. What if everything we know crumbles? Mia's grip tightened. But what if it's the truth that makes us stronger? Sometimes we need to face the storm to find our light. I wanted to believe her. But in that moment, the storm outside was nothing compared to the tempest brewing within our lives. The echoes of my father's laughter as we played childhood games, the warmth of my mother's hugs, felt distant and unreal as the shadows grew darker. Suddenly, the flicker of a match broke the void, igniting the candle Jonah had aimed to retrieve. The wavering flame danced defiantly against the dark, casting ghostly shadows across the walls. "Got it," he declared, his tone buoyant yet still laced with urgency. He placed the candle on the table, and its light spilled warmth into the room, but the past loomed larger in the glow. "Dad," Jonah started, his voice steely yet trembling. "It's time. No more hiding." My father's form, buried in shadows, emitted a heaviness that clawed at my heart. "You don't understand what you're asking. What I'm asking shouldn't be kept in a shroud of lies." "Please, just tell us," Jonah persisted, his bravado flickering like the flame. My mother remained silent, her presence a haunting echo of the loving figure I once knew, now rooted in uncertainty. "I wanted to protect you from everything. From the pain I caused." My father finally spoke, his voice low, filled with a weight that felt almost like a confession. "There are things I wish I could change. Choices that haunt me." "What choices?" I implored, the urge to drag the truth from him overpowering. I needed to understand what version of our family was real, what was buried beneath layers and layers of deception. "The mistakes were mine to bear, not yours," he whispered, shaking his head, his fingers trembling as he gripped the edge of the table tightly. "You don't need to know, Dad," I interrupted, panic rising within me like bile. "We can't decide what we need to know until you tell us. Please, just break this silence." He hesitated. The flickering candle danced dangerously close to extinction. "It was a different time. I was desperate, Lana. I thought I was making the right choice for you and Jonah." "It's just what?" Jonah pressed, leaning in closer, beyond the walls of uncertainty. "What could be so bad?" The storm rattled the windows, as if echoing the tumultuous heaviness of our conversation. "I made a deal," my father replied finally, each word dropping like stones in the silence. "A deal to protect you, but it came with a cost. A cost that still haunts me." My breath hitched in my throat, realization dawning. "What happened to Mom? Is that why she's different?" At that moment, another crash of thunder enveloped us, and the candle's flame flickered alarmingly one last time before the room was plunged back into darkness, swallowing my father's confession before it could settle. The echo of his final word died in the abyss, leaving a gaping chasm of unanswered questions hanging above us. My heart thudded as I reached for Mia, panic clawing at my insides. Just minutes ago, I had felt the flicker of hope, yet now despair threatened to clamp down further. "Stay close," Jonah shouted, and as his voice resonated through the heavy silence, I realized that not just our lives, but our very perception of love, trust, and family hung precariously on the precipice of what we didn't know. As the storm surged and rolled outside, a new realization washed over me. We were teetering on the brink of a revelation, straddling a truth that could shatter the very fabric of who we thought we were. and the next storm surge could either sweep us apart or bind us closer than ever before. And just as hope seemed to flicker hesitantly back to life, the darkness whispered secrets that my heart wasn't prepared to face. The void of silence weighed heavily, refusing to release its grip after the chilling confession that had nearly escaped my father's lips. Jonah's composure faltered, a beam of light lost in the night as he called for us, yet the shadows in the room felt thicker than pitch. "Mia," I whispered, my fingers shaking slightly. "What does he mean? What deal?" The unease bubbled over into confusion, a horror starting to coil in my stomach like a serpent. "I think he made a choice to protect us from something much worse," she replied, her voice barely above a murmur. "But the cost, what if it was more than we ever anticipated?" Suddenly, there was a rustle from the far side of the room, and adrenaline surged through me. "Who's there?" I demanded softly, feeling small despite the urgency of my tone. Jonah rushed to our side, his body emanating an almost desperate energy. "It's just me," he said hastily, the light of the flickering candle reflecting the deep concern etched into his features. "I'm here." "I don't like this," I admitted, my heart pounding as I glanced nervously at our father's silhouette, now shrouded in an even deeper darkness. "I don't like the way this feels. I want to know the truth, not this cryptic nonsense." "Lana, we can't rush him," Jonah said, his voice steadier than mine, but lined with frustration as if he were wanting to reach out for the truth, yet held back by invisible chains. "It's hard for him too. It was hard for all of us." I snapped, a wave of frustration breaking within me. Decisions were made without our say, and now it all lands on us to just accept whatever he chooses to tell us. In that moment, a quiet vulnerability settled over the room, and I could feel Emi's trembling beside me. She was afraid, her body quaking not just from the chill of the night, but from the emotional weight pressing down on her. Her eyes spoke of friendship, of shared burdens, yet the fear of impending revelations pulled us all into a tighter abyss. Suddenly, as if on cue, my father's shadow shifted, a deep exhale escaping him. "Sometimes, it is easier to hold on to the dark," he said into the void, his voice like gravel, heavy with sorrow. "I thought keeping you safe meant shielding you from the truth." "I was wrong. Then tell us." Jonah stepped closer, an urgent pulse to his voice. "Don't drag us deeper when we are already drowning in fear." A moment of hesitation hung like a noose, taut and trembling. My heart clenched as I watched my father's frame shrink further into the shadows, tears brimming in his eyes unseen, but all too palpable. "Lana, I made a deal with forces I couldn't fathom. It's not just a past mistake. It's tied to the very being of your mother. It binds us all," he replied, his tone cracking with suppressed emotions. "To whom? What do you mean?" I pressed, near the edge of despair, desperate to grasp meaning in this labyrinth of darkness. "And if it unravels? If it tears us apart more than it already has?" Jonah interjected, his words sharp and bright, slicing through the darkness like a spark in the void. "I thought time would heal what I did, that I could make amends. But my decisions have consequences," he added, voice trembling with each word. "This darkness you feel, it isn't just outside. It's entwined with us, a pulse in our lives that I can't escape." As another thunderclap roared outside, the wind howled as if echoing our steely resolve, distorting as it tangled with fear. But amid the tempest, a small flicker emerged, a memory of laughter, of moments I had once enjoyed as a child, now haunting me like a ghost. "Mia." I turned to her, an idea crashing into me with the force of the storm itself. "Maybe we can find a way to confront this together. Whatever it is he's involved in, we can face it. We don't have to do it alone." Jonah's expression softened slightly at my words, the tension between siblings dissolving into cautious hope. "We're not alone." "We never have been," he replied. "Then let him tell us," I murmured, feeling newfound determination course through me. "As a family, we have to break free from this darkness. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the house as a branch crashed against the windows, rattling the glass. The candle flickered violently, sending shadows swirling around us. In that moment, another realization washed over me. Facing whatever lay ahead would mean dismantling the airtight walls my father had built around us. The glow from the flame flickered precariously, and in that instant, my breath caught. I needed one more piece to connect the story, and to understand how this darkness intertwined with us. From the deep shadows, my father stepped forward, his face illuminated just enough to reveal the tears shimmering in his eyes the same blue as mine. If you truly wish to know, tonight could change everything. The weight of his words echoed in my mind. The potential for our entire lives to tilt on an axis previously unfathomable set my heart racing. This was it. The moment before everything would collide, the truth or the pain of unknowing. And before I could process it, he spoke again, firm but gentle. But I need you to promise, no matter what you hear, you will still love each other, no matter how difficult the truth may be. In that moment of clarity, their faces all blurred, and I understood that our future teetered on a delicate thread woven through love, pain, truth, and sacrifice, but what weight would ultimately anchor us? As I opened my mouth to respond, ready to take on the storm lying ahead, another crack of thunder split the night. As my father's next words hung precariously in the air, waiting to shatter our family's fragile foundation. The storm continued to rage outside, its powerful winds clawing at the house, attempting to breach its protective walls. My heart thudded wildly in my chest as I stood frozen, the weight of my father's plea crushing down upon me like an avalanche. "Promise us," he whispered, his voice nearly drowned out by the tempest, yet the urgency within it reverberated into the very core of my being. "Always," I managed to voice, the word tasting both sacred and heavy on my lips. Jonah echoed the promise, a hesitant vow that seemed to hang in the air like the suspended particles of dust that danced in the dying candlelight. And Mia, with her unwavering gaze fixed on our father, nodded silently, her resolve binding us tighter than any spoken word. As the candle flickered once more, casting elongated shadows that twisted against the walls, my father stepped closer, every inch of his being steeped in anguish. "What I'm about to tell you," he hesitated, drawing in a shaky breath, "is not just about your mother. It's about the very essence of who we are as a family. And it's been haunting me for years." The words staggered out, knotting my stomach with anticipation and dread. I felt the boundaries we had constructed over the years shifting beneath my feet. He was going to unravel a tale that, if we were brave enough, could lead us into the light or plunge us further into despair. My deal, he began, voice trembling, was made long ago in desperation. Your mother was sick, gravely ill. I sought help from forces who promised me a cure, a chance to save her. But nothing comes free. The air turned colder, wrapping around us like an icy shroud. I could see Jonah's fists clench imperceptibly by his sides, mirroring my own rising trepidation. "What did you have to give up?" I pressed, my voice shaking though I fought to remain steady. "A piece of my soul," he whispered, bowing his head, shadows drawing deeper lines across his anguished face. Every choice I made, every sacrifice I was given a chance to cure her, but in return, the darkness needed to feed. I didn't realize that it would grow inside me, spreading like a malignancy. MIA's hand reached for mine, fingers intertwining, a lifeline anchoring me in the swirling chaos that threatened to engulf us. I could see the fear in her eyes mirrored in Jonah's. We were somewhere between disbelief and an unshakable intuition that our lives had been tethered to this darkness much longer than we ever understood. "And now?" I asked, heart racing against the dread unfurling within me. "What happens now?" He looked up, his expression torn between sorrow and confession. "There will come a time when the debt comes due. It's a lingering echo now, but it will demand a payment. This is why I kept you away from the truth. I wanted to shield you, but I've only succeeded in keeping you in the dark. Silence draped itself over us like a heavy blanket, and I felt the shadows press tighter, suffocating the hope that had dared to surface. "And your mother?" Jonah's voice was tight, each word laced with an unspeakable anguish. "What about her? Was it her life you gambled with?" My father's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, regret surging through his gaze. "Her illness, it drove me. In my desperation, I thought I could save her, but I didn't realize that her very essence was what they wanted. The deal, it tied her fate to mine, but it also left her vulnerable. I wanted to protect you both, but now I see the shadows will come for her." A chill coursed through the room, and I glanced at Mia, her face pale in the waning light. "We can't keep living in fear," I whispered, my own voice wavering. "We need to find a way to break this cycle, to confront whatever darkness your deal stirred." "There may still be a way," he murmured, the shadows flickering around us, taunting the very air we breathed. "You're stronger together. Love can ward off oppression, but it requires a heavy price. You'll need to look to your mother. She may hold the key to the darkness that binds us." Before I could respond, another violent crack of thunder shook the windows, momentarily starting my heart. In fear. "We need to find her," I said, feeling a surge of determination. "We need to confront this, to discover what part we play in all of this." But as if the universe had aligned against our naive bravado, a piercing scream echoed from the hallway, slicing through the tension like a knife. Our hearts dropped in unison, each beating with dread and urgency. The scream was unlike anything I had ever heard, filled with sorrow and visceral terror. It belonged to our mother. The candle flickered one last time before plunging us into darkness, leaving just our ragged breaths and the storm's furious wrath. And at that moment, every vow, every shred of hope, felt as frail as the flickering wick we had just lost. What lay beyond those shadows? What awaited us in the echoes of that haunted scream? I wanted to know, but felt the icy tendrils of fear paralyze me. There was no turning back now. The secrets were unearthing, and we were all left fractured by the storm, waiting for an answer that might shatter us completely. The storm howled outside, each gust clawing at the walls, as if desperate to drag us into the chaos beyond. Holding my breath, I exchanged frightened glances with Jonah and Mia, the enormity of what we had learned weighing heavily in the suffocating darkness. We stood there, suspended in fear, knowing that our mother needed us, and that the secrets keeping us captive were about to unravel. "Go!" Jonah shouted, breaking the paralysis that had claimed our limbs. He darted toward the door, dragging us with him. "We can't waste any time." I stumbled after him, heart racing, but the scream echoing through the hallway reverberated in my bones, urging me forward with fierce urgency. We reached the hallway, where the air felt thicker, charged with an overwhelming dread. It was as if the house itself was holding its breath in anticipation of what we were about to encounter. I looked back at my father, his face etched with pain, reflecting the grim reality of our situation. "Stay, we'll find her," I yelled, though the fear running through my veins threatened to choke me. The screams escalated, winding into choked sobs that pulled me through the dimly lit corridor. Jonah led us toward the bedroom where my mother had been confined during her illness. My legs felt unsteady, each step echoing with the weight of unspoken words and buried pain. As we reached the door, it swung open with such force that it nearly knocked Jonah off his feet. I could see the faint flicker of light bouncing around the room, casting shadows like dancers on the walls. "Mom!" I shouted, stepping inside. The sight almost made my heart fracture. She was huddled in the corner, her frail frame trembling like a leaf caught in the wind. The shadows seemed to swirl and pulse around her, alive and menacing. I gasped as I took a step closer. "Mom, it's us. We're here." At the sound of my voice, her head snapped up, eyes wild and desperate, as if she were emerging from some deep, unending nightmare. "No! You mustn't be here." Her voice was hoarse, cracking under the weight of terror and anguish. You have to leave. It's coming for you. I moved closer, trembling, despite the fierce rush of anger coursing through me. What do you mean, what's coming? We're not going anywhere without you. It's too late, she cried, her voice rising above the clap of thunder. You don't understand. I made a choice too. To keep you safe, I made a choice. What choice? MIA's terrified whisper cut through the madness, and I felt a chill settle in my bones. I bound myself, she cried, tears streaming down her face. When your father made his deal, I thought I could protect him, I could protect you. They promised if I remained here and kept silent, our love would shield you from the darkness. It was my sacrifice. Jonah's face fell, and I could see the cruel twist of betrayal flash in his eyes. You knew, and you kept this from us? No, she sobbed. I thought I was saving you. The shadows grow heavy with every secret we keep. Just as she spoke, the lights flickered ominously, then blared to life, engulfing the room in a harsh glare, illuminating the corners once hidden. Something shifted behind her, a formless creature that seemed to stretch like smoke, tendrils reaching out hungrily. My heart stopped. They were here. Mom, please, I begged, stepping closer even as terror clawed at my throat. You have to let us help you. But in that moment, as if sensing our resolve, the creature lunged, the air pulsing around us like a war drum. We were being hunted. Run! My mother screamed, shoving us toward the door, her eyes wide with despair. You can't save me anymore. You have to break the bond. Don't say that. Jonah's voice cracked, and I wanted to scream, to fight against everything within me that shouted for us to stay. But the instinct for survival kicked in, and we turned to flee. As we stumbled into the hallway, the weight of my mother's sacrifice bore down upon us, encasing me in ice. Each step away felt like tearing a piece of my heart from my chest. What does she mean? I gasped, voice shaking. What bond? How do we break this? Jonah's face darkened, reflecting a storm larger than the violent winds outside. We need to find the truth, and fast. We need to reach someone who knows, someone who can help us understand what our parents did. The howls outside crescendoed, matching the frantic beats of my heart, but I knew there was no going back. We were on the cusp of unveiling something that could change everything. As we stepped out of the house and into the storm, the rain-soaked earth became our only ally against the shadows pursuing us. With every drop that fell against our skin, it felt like a cry for hope. Do you think she was right? Can we truly save her? I whispered, but before Jonah could respond, a flash of lightning split the sky, and in that brief moment, illuminating the world around us, I saw Ida figure standing at the edge of the woods, its eyes gleaming with an unfathomable depth. My breath caught. The darkness wasn't just outside. It was watching us, intertwining with our fate. And as fear seeped into my bones, I realized that our fight had only just begun. The storm raged on, its fury echoing the chaos in my heart as we dashed through the rain, weighed down by fear, guilt, and the realization that our lives were at the mercy of shadows we barely understood. Every raindrop felt like a reminder of the burden we carried, the past twisting through each step we took. Our breaths came in ragged gasps as we reached the treeline, the silhouette of the figure becoming clearer amid the chaotic dance of lightning and thunder. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, a relentless drum urging me forward, but every instinct screamed for caution. I gripped Jonah's hand tighter, sharing the tempest of emotion swirling within him, each heartbeat synchronized in the challenge we now faced. As we approached the figure, it resolutely stepped forward, revealing itself as a woman with striking silver hair, her face etched with wisdom and sorrow. You've come at a perilous time, she uttered, her voice resonating with an otherworldly calm that contrasted with the tempest around us. I've awaited your return for years. Who are you? Jonah demanded, a fierce determination sparking in his eyes. Do you know what's happening? We need help. Our mother is in danger. I know, she replied, her gaze unwavering. And it's venal to allow fear to dictate your path. You're tied to the storm, just as she is. I felt my breath catch, the realization of connection stirring within me. Tied? Is that the bond? How can we break it? The bond emanates from truth your parents once chose to shield you from, she responded, her voice soothing yet imbued with urgency. They thought love would be enough, but love entwined with shadows gives rise to tethered burdens. I have to protect her, I whispered, feeling the weight of my mother's fear wrap around me like chains. Please help us. Seek the roots of the past buried in the heart of your family, she instructed, then raised a hand, the rain beginning to soften around us as if controlled by her will. Within the old oak, there lies a path of fractured truth you must confront and embrace. The old oak? Jonah's brows furrowed with recognition. The one from the edge of our property, where Mom said the family secrets are kept. Indeed, she affirmed. But know this, shadows do not flee, they cling tighter. You must remain steadfast in love for each other. Allow love to illuminate the truth, for it is the only shield against the darkness. I felt an unexpected flicker of hope amidst the rising winds. We will do it together, I promised, glancing at Jonah and Mia, the strength of our resolve coalescing in that single moment. Well, face it, whatever it takes. As she nodded, her form began to shimmer like vapor vanishing into the air, leaving behind a lingering warmth that danced in the rain. My heart raced, and a surge of determination filled me as we turned toward the ancient oak, its shape silhouetted by flashes of lightning. Each step felt monumental, the weight of generations resting heavily upon us as we neared the gnarled roots of the tree. What do we do? Mia asked, her voice barely a whisper. We dig, Jonah said, kneeling down, and as we joined him, our fingers clawing through the mud and scattered leaves, the atmosphere crackled, a living force pulsating through the soil. Suddenly, we uncovered a small, weathered box, its edges frayed but filled with energy and secrets clamoring to be released. My fingers trembled as I lifted it, and in the instant it appeared, shadows swirled at our feet, restless and alive. The air felt electric, each heartbeat countering the encroaching darkness. Open it, Jonah urged, the fire of courage sparking in his eyes even as uncertainty lingered. The weight of countless stories pressed upon us, suffocating yet beguiling, guiding my hands as I unsealed the box with a reluctant breath. Within lay a series of letters, delicate with age, their ink swirling in intimate scripts, revealing tales of love, regret, and the darkness my parents endeavored to shield us from. As I selected the first one, the tremor in my hand stilled, and I began to read aloud, my voice quaking with the burden of unveiling our family's true history. Dearest children, it began, a soft plea echoing years of burden. If you find this, know that I made choices driven by love, choices that entwined our fates with an underworld that demands its dues. I wanted to shield you, to protect you from the darkness that shadows our lineage. As I read on, the first revelation flooded my heart, a tale of generational struggle against forces that had intertwined our family roots with devastating consequences. My parents' choices flickered against the backdrop of the storms, love battling the pull of shadows that sought to tether us deeper. With each word uttered, the shadows around us pulsed not in fear but in response, swaying and shrinking in the light of truth being revealed. I could feel the temperature rise. Warmth seeped in where once there was chill. The darkness is not our enemy, I continued, voice firm. It is a part of us, a reflection of choices made and sacrifices endured. But it can be overcome with truth and unity. The world around us seemed to shift. I could feel my mother's presence, fighting against the tendrils that sought to bind her, a powerful impulse urging her to battle against the truths she had long carried. Mom, we're here. We're breaking the chains that bond us. I shouted toward the storm, willing her to feel our resolve. With a final trembling sigh, I held the letters close, as if wrapping our family's history around us like a lifeline. The shadows recoiled further, their tether weakening against the pulsing strength of our love resonating alongside the truth unveiled. And in that instant, we felt a palpable shift, an opening in the storm, as if an unseen hand was reaching out, pulling us away from darkness and into the light of forgiveness, acceptance, and grace. With shaking hands, I opened the final letter that spoke of hope, a promise that bound our fates not in grief but in love. As the skies above us began to clear, a cascade of stars shimmered into view. We had faced the storm and emerged, drenched but unbroken, each letter a cord of connection binding us tighter than ever before. Together, we will reclaim our heart, I vowed, and as Jonah and Mia proclaimed their agreement, the words echoed with a resonance that intertwined us against the darkness. For it was not just the shadows that we had conquered, but the collective burdens of our family's love, secrets, sacrifices, and finally, the acceptance that we were stronger together. And as we left the old oak behind, hand in hand, the tethering darkness dispersed into the night, our spirits carved anew with every step. Hope, woven into our hearts, promised renewal. In the silence following the storm, I realized that love could cast the brightest light, even in the depths of despair. It whispered truths that held our family together, the enduring flame within us, forever illuminating the path ahead. The darkness may still linger, I murmured as we pushed forward, but love will guide us even through the storm. And as we walked into the dawn, the first blush of sunlight kissed the horizon, an echo of the light in our hearts racing forward, ready to embrace whatever life had in store.